Loki Battlemats has teamed up with CD Projekt Red and Talsorian Games to bring you the Cyberpunk Red Premium Map Collection. This includes the exclusive map box and just a ton of other goodies. I am mainly here for the spiral-bound Loki Battlemats books, and primarily because this is basically the only resource that I will have for a futuristic dystopian cyberpunk universe in which to host, homebrew, or otherwise play any tabletop dungeon crawling RPG type game. There may be others out there, but as soon as Loki gets into the competition, it's over. So we're going to take a look at this collection of battle mats and resources that are included with the Premium Map Collection box, and I want to give a special thanks. A big thank you to Loki Battlemats, because my tier in this crowdfunded campaign was only the Cyberpunk set battle maps and tokens, because the books are the things that I wanted the most, and these would go with my current collection of this size and form factor and format of battle maps from Loki. This video is not sponsored by Loki, and I also don't have any sort of agreement with Loki. The box was truly just a gift, and I'm very thankful for it. It won't color any of my opinions about what is inside the box. Obviously a departure because it's in this futuristic cyberpunk setting, but that's no matter. I've got games that I can definitely put with that to make that make sense and make it work. And maybe I want to bring fantasy dungeon crawlers into the cyberpunk realm, huh? How about that? Well, the Premium Map Collection in this box includes all of these items. The box itself is usable scenery, which you will see once we get it open. There are 60 plus bonus clings, some of which are here outside of the box, and I've no doubt that this will be a separate retail item, which a lot of this stuff probably will be. I'm not making any claims other than I'm pretty sure most, if not all of this, will be available as a retail item, either currently or in the very near future, because Loki has just a wealth of stuff to supplement your game nights. A glow-in-the-dark poster map, which, yeah, it is a playable map. 10 giant fold-out maps, which we'll take a look at all of those. The Cyberpunk set itself, which is the set of 2 books. And in my opinion, the meat and potatoes of this whole thing. The chase pack and add-on scenery, a pack of 120 plus reusable static clings. You know what? Actually, I'm realizing this add-on scenery actually came with the tier that I had. It wasn't outside of this box. This box contains its own. So we are going to now open this box, and I just want to thank you guys over at Loki Battlemats for your incredible kindness. It's a sleeve. It's a giant sleeve. Just what a wonderful gift. Okay, so this is the actual box once we get it out of the sleeve. We've got some scenery on the sides, perfectly suitable to set this box aside your game board and have it serve as a border if you've got that kind of real estate on your table, or maybe right in the middle of it to have an elevated play space. This provides you with some vertical real estate, and it does look like the top, or the roof rather, of a building, commercial building. When we flip it upside down, we've got those same elements now indoors. Lowered down, the walls are of course too overly high to serve as a consistent gaming piece, but it is no less serviceable in terms of moving figures along a 1-inch grid standard board. The Cyberpunk Red Chase Pack, fuel the fury of cyberpunk road warfare. This comes with battle maps and punch-out tokens. And usually I don't like clings. I'm just not a fan of clings. It's just my personal preference. But the punch-out tokens in this are awesome. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and just jump right in and look at all this stuff. The punch-out tokens here, these are what I would vastly prefer versus clings. Now I have a token of this delivery vehicle. And this format is genius, by the way, because we have some really long fold-out maps here, and they represent roads. So you can have Road Warrior, Road Battles, Road Rage. You could just have a really long battle map, and that's fine. There's a variety of situations in which that would work, but if you would like a chase scene of some kind without having to reuse a shorter version of this map over and over again, which you definitely could do by folding this up if you just didn't have the table space, by the way, it would be fine, then you too can have your road map pulled out. And yes, there are 1-inch grid squares all over this thing, and we've got our cars that we can punch out that represent different factions, or maybe just citizenry, or the law enforcement of the city. And you can roll to see how many spaces you move. I mean, rolling on this board and actually having like an RP is not really going to lend itself to maybe high octane police chase thrills. But as far as addressing the challenge of translating everything possible to this RPG format, I think Loki have knocked it out of the park. Really, really cool to see these extra long maps. You pretty much have, and I apologize for the high gloss, it's really not noticeable when you're viewing it at an angle like this one, which you will be if you have this on your table. But my overhead lights here, my lighting to make sure that everything is lit up, is definitely reflecting off of the glossy material. Worry not, that's really not going to be something that you notice a lot of when you have this on your table. So this is a 12 by 33 square map. Kind of a strange set of dimensions, but like I said, serviceable. 2 double-sided fold-out maps. And then let's look at all of the tokens that would come with this. And of course, these tokens would be usable with all of your other map elements. Everything's interchangeable here. You don't have to use these cars, by the way, as moving vehicles. They can just as easily be scrap. They can be all on top of one another. And the tokens themselves are double-sided as well, which means they have multiple uses. And I think that that's just really cool. Just a really good idea. Instead of having it blank on the bottom, some of them are even like the undersides of the same car. So it can really sell that scrapyard or there's been an accident feel that you might want to lend to your scene. There's not just cars, some of which are actually quite messed up. You actually have right here, Ash. And there's not just simple cars, some of which, as you can see here, are severely messed up. You've got rescue vehicles. You've got response vehicles, and this one is choosing to respond with violence. You've got buses that have been converted to battering rams, and you've got different versions of these things. What I really like, though, are the rusty containers. Those are really cool to see. Those will serve in a variety of situations for your map packs, both within this small added box and without. So putting everything neatly back into the chase pack, we move on. This is our glow-in-the-dark poster, and it is enormous. It's going to cover the table. It's made of a really nice feeling material. I mean, that feels quite like vinyl. It's not just paper, I don't think. It's got a nice subtle manufacturing smell. It says main event. We've got plenty of room for patrons at this event to sit in booth seating. Perhaps you have like a VIP seating scene. We've got some supplies in the back rooms. We've got some bathrooms. We've got an office where our security takes place, I would say. We've got our VIP room here. Perhaps this is a room for shady business dealings. And what dealing isn't shady in the world of cyberpunk? Several other rooms. We have a sort of trauma ward, I would say. And then we have another business room. Bring in your client. I want to see how strong he is before I allow him to take any sort of part in our combat event. And then you've got the general admission area. Extremely clever. And then tables all around for people who might want to pay a little bit more than just for the general admission seating. And of course, you have to go upstairs to get to that seating. So it's also balcony seating. So maybe you have to pay more to get up there. But what is the main event? Well, that's up to you. It could be a giant fight. It could be a cyberpunk performer of some kind, singing, dancing. It could be a magic show, after which will become a bloodied fight scene because of the patrons being so angry that you subjected them to something as lame as a magic show. We have more gigantic fold-out, double-sided maps here, rich with this futuristic scenery, this Mad Max-inspired hellscape. Too big to really fit on my table, and I'm trying really hard not to let the glossiness sort of outshine the product. We have another sort of kind of event space here. It's outdoors this time. You can use your car tiles. You could go ahead and just place them outside the boundaries of all the grids and everything and move them as many spaces as you think should represent their different speeds respectively every turn. We've got headlights shining down, headlights, street lights, Ash. We've got this main fountain. You could have all sorts of things going on here. You could have fights, you could have a protest, you could have a crime scene, or it could just be a map on which your players navigate to find clues, engaging in small little skirmishes here and there before finding that NPC who is waiting for them to give them privileged information. Perhaps he is disguised as one who is impoverished, digging through the trash. Perhaps they're a little bit late and they're coming up from the subway. Perhaps they are the ones spraying graffiti all over the ground here. The chip in Ripper. That's just one of the gigantic maps. This comes with a few. We've got a parking lot here with a ton of spaces and the roof of a building. Roofs, I should say, of buildings. This is an enormous bird's eye view of a complete industrial sector. And these now take the record for the largest maps that I have. They're enormous. They feel really good. Like I said, they've got that nice sort of vinyl feel to them. The opposite side of that map is the streets. And we've got some buildings out here, more driving situations, should you choose to use them in that way. A couple of club-type buildings, very obviously, in my opinion, meant to be a club. We've got these tables arranged around this larger dancing area. You got to get through security first, though. You got to prove that you're cool, or you've got to show your invite, or you've got to flash the cash. We've got some kind of futuristic basketball court, whatever they call future basketball in the cyberpunk times. Really think this is cool, though. This gives you so much room to build your own immersion by setting the cars down, and you can have the cars go in and out. You could have a new car arrive to one of these parking spots in the middle of a game to represent that somebody has just arrived. It might be somebody important. The players might want to watch out for that in between turns. We're not even like done. We're maybe like halfway done with the huge giant maps. Golly, they're super impressive. This one is actually like the middle of a very busy, perhaps freeway. We have a lot of arrows entering the map, letting the vehicles know which path they have to take to get to different places, close and abroad, separations clearly visible. And on the opposite side, we have what might be one of my favorite maps, because this can stand for a really awesome skirmish amongst several different groups. You just have these completely blasted city ruins. It was not clear to me how ambitious this was really going to be, or what kind of awesome variations there would be within this map pack. And I honestly thought, well, with it being cyberpunk, there's only so much you could have, right? There's only so far to go, but there's clearly more here than I was expecting. Unfortunately, this one arrived with a fold, but we could straighten that back out, flatten it back out. It's not a big deal. It is going to leave that permanent crease, but I'm not too worried about that. I don't see these having very frequent use on any table of mine, only because I just don't have the game to back it up at this time. This isn't the last of the giant maps. We're going to look at this one and the next one, both double-sided. But this is, I'm guessing it could be a hangar of some kind, or it could be a place where models of large machines can be moved or replaced, or perhaps we have a sort of garage situation here. We've got lots of walkways above the main floors. We've got a cafeteria. Always have to have the cafeteria. And those of you who have played the Cyberpunk game, or who have watched Cyberpunk Edge Runners, perhaps you can clue me in on what some of these places are and what they represent. This might take center stage for me. This map is just, the size and scale is so apparent when you cram buildings onto the map, and there's still so much room in between the buildings, and there's so much room in the buildings. It's not like you have a couple of 4x4 rooms on a board. There are enormous buildings on these maps all together. We have a control room here. We have barricades, another place for a lot of skirmishes. Any scale, doesn't matter. You could have 100 miniatures on this map and it would not feel crowded, because that's how much space there is. 100 miniatures would not feel crowded on a mat of this scale, of this scope, of this size. Now we have something that is actually on the coast. Of course, the coast isn't the cleanest place to be, and if it is, it won't stay that way for long in the world of cyberpunk, where you have all these pollutants that you could be tossing into the waters, and perhaps that could be a quest you have to stop somebody from doing just that. I think I'm going to try to come up with different dungeon crawl quests using common rules for board game dungeon crawlers, and just make scenarios that will make use of each of these maps. And I will share with you what those might be in a future vid with a little bit more room for presentation at that time. I honestly did not think I would need to have that much table space to show you what's on these. We've got one more city map that makes use of a main road and then buildings on either side, which of course I'm going to have to flip and fold and unfold multiple times to be able to show you everything. This is a really cool one for scenarios of all kinds, because of that main road and because of the alleys and because of the overpass here you've got for pedestrians, and just rooms inside and rooftops. Again, a skirmish if you so choose. or an espionage or a couple of small fights and trying to get the right people on your side, we've got our clings here. I'm not going to spend hardly any time going through the static clings. They work. Loki knows what they're doing in terms of static clings. These come off of the paper, sometimes with a bit of a challenge. I guess I could try to see if the maybe formula for how these are manufactured has improved in any way. But you can use these on any laminated surface. They will work with the battle map books themselves. And let me tell you, talking from experience, if you cling them to any page in any of the books and then close the book and then open it up later, the cling is still going to be there like it's part of the scenery permanently. They have immense staying power, no pun intended, just as I thought. It is a little challenging to get the cling to come off of the paper, so if you're not careful and you're picking at the edges and you pull up, you're really going to pull up part of the paper itself. This isn't really like a defect or anything. It's just is what it is. You've got to be careful when you pull up the clings. That said, it's not like the cling itself is prone to tearing or anything. It should peel off pretty easily. And then you've got all these top-down assets that you can apply to your map. The only reason that I really don't like them for my maps personally is just because they become more of a part of that scene, and it's kind of harder to put everything away and make the map flavorless, or at least as flavorless as it can be again, without running your hand over and then having to go through some effort to remove stuff. So next we've got our Loki Cyberpunk set battle maps and tokens, and then we have that's the exact same box that I showed you earlier, because that's the one that I paid for. And this is the gift. Thank you so much, Loki Battle Mats, for the kind gift. I'm not worthy. I didn't know I was getting this. I just got the box one day and I'm like, cool, my mats are here. Why is the box so dang heavy? We have more clings, not only of these like containers and sheds and cars and other things, but we've also got these crazy brands and icons that represent the different factions and gangs and everything, companies from Cyberpunk. So that's fun. I'm kind of making assumptions here. These might not be from Cyberpunk. They might be just Cyberpunk in general themed clings. They might not be proprietary. Here is the bottom of the box, which again, you can use as a map all in its own right. I mean, if you need maps, Loki has you covered. It's just all there is to it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. This is the piece de resistance for me, because I've done so many of these Loki battle map reviews on the channel, and I'm so happy to have the Cyberpunk one in hand. As always, it's a set of 2 books, and you can use any 2 pages from one book with any 2 pages from another book to make a pretty seamless and pretty theme matching overall campaign or session map board situation. You can mix and match any of these. This gives you the contents in their entirety, showing you everything that's in Volume 1 and Volume 2 of both of the books. It's very cleverly laid out. It shows you how you can best combine the books to make the maps here. And for the first time that I know of in this series, you have Volume 1 and 2 put side by side rather than on top of each other to make one long map, in this case representing a cargo ship. It's awesome. I cannot wait to look at this stuff. And you don't just get the books, you also get the punch tiles. So again, we've got rooms, we've got cars, we've got barricades, and these are different tiles than the ones that come in the overall box. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I didn't see these in the bigger box. These should come with all of your Books of Battle Mats packages. So you've even got these like corner rooms, which I think is just awesome. It's so awesome to see different shaped rooms, and they're double-sided, so you have all kinds of different situations going on. Containers on one side, room on the other, car, busted up car, mad props for tokens and tiles of cardboard. Mad props. Okay. Volume 1 and Volume 2, just like any other 2 volumes, we'll look at everything page by page all together. There's one thing that I want to point out, one out of the good, the bad, and the ugly, one ugly that I really have to point out, and I'm just doing this to be honest. This was the set that I got as a gift because it was in the box that I got that I did not have added to my crowdfund campaigns. I can't complain about that in any way, shape, or form. There's nothing to complain about there. The thing that I have to complain about is the set that I would have paid for and the set that I would have gotten had I not received a gift of any kind includes this Volume 2 book and this Volume 2 book. I actually have 2 Volume 2s, and because I have the free gift, I've got 3 Volume 2s and 1 Volume 1. This would be a very, very costly mistake, probably easy to avoid with a little more quality control. I don't know if I'm just like the one in the 6 point however many billion that the Six Sigma lean methodology would consider the outlier, but this would be a very costly mistake because you have a lot of shipping that would be going back and forth to try to either send back the extra volume 2 to get a replacement volume 1, or just get the volume 1, and then you end up having given your customer a free volume if you don't ask for the one back. And it also raises the question, did somebody else get 2 volume 1s? Cause for concern. It's not my concern, not today, but cause for some concern. And just here because I want to be open and honest, and that's open and honest. That's my experience. So we open these books up now. We take a look at the beautiful contents within. You don't have to arrange the books like this. You can arrange them side by side, top to bottom, however you want. I've pointed out this in past videos. You do have these ring binds, and these could potentially be immersion breaking for some of your players. So if you were inclined, you could get rid of them and pull everything out of the books. The tiles in between are kind of sized, sort of, to ignore these. And they're also conveniently sized to ignore that they were ever there, should you choose to cut them out. I'm not saying that that's official. Nobody ever said, if you don't like the rings, you can just cut the maps out. That is my personal suggestion. And I wouldn't actually suggest doing that. But if you were of the type to really want to get rid of these rings, then that is something you could do. I've heard of other people in the community saying that they've done that to good success. That's pages 1 and 2. Let's move on to pages 3 and 4, but not before showing you that these are perfectly compatible. You don't have to change the pages at the same time to have a completely different map. And the number of combinations of maps that are created by having this system go into, I think it's in the millions once you consider taking the map book and flipping it is also an option. And not just that, but you could have a J shape, you could have an L shape, you could have the books go straight across. The amount of possibilities for unique maps is just about endless. So we have some alleys, we have the helicopter landing pad, we have rooftops, we have, by the way, this paper is not quite the same as previous paper. There's no separation here now. You might ignore that comment. I'm actually not remembering if that separation was in one of the Loke products or a different map book product. Anyways, moving on to pages 5 and 6. Again, perfect congruency with 3 and 4. Let's flip this page. 5 and 6, even more compatible because these were designed to be together, but they're always going to leave your edges open, and you're not going to have any set decoration between tiles across books, and that way they remain compatible. We have ourselves, I want to say, a fountain. Yeah, we've got a couple of sharks swimming around in a circle here. Who knows if it's just a hologram, though, at the end of the day. And we have our sort of club setting, subway entrance, exit. Multiples of those throughout this collection. I think that's really cool to have because it gives you another exit. It's not just like dungeon stairwells, although it does serve the same purpose, or it can serve the same purpose in this modern context. Moving on, we've got our bay areas. This is for something larger to be stored or perhaps park. A ton of, what are these? These are racks, I believe. Yeah, small racks for a person to travel back and forth between and set stuff on. We have a motorized pallet jack. This is not necessarily something that's futuristic. I've used these before, and this one actually looks quite old. It looks like the world of pallets and moving pallets around doesn't change that much in the grim future of cyberpunk. And that must mean that we've already perfected it as it is. So yeah. If you have a forklift license, you have in your hands a certificate of a component of perfection. I'm just talking nonsense. We have a lot of other racks here in this other place. This is a 9-to-5 job, I would say, for entry-level workers. We move on to pages 9 and 10, and we come to a larger building ready for you to drop your set decoration. This would be a proper dungeon crawl for your cyberpunk heroes. And we have our tunnel over here going underneath the whole thing as well. So at the end of this adventure, you can have a car appear out from underneath the tunnel. The enemy character who's trying to escape crashes through the window to land on top of the car, and they escape off the edge of the map board, which goes into another dimension. Not because it's part of cyberpunk, but because all map boards go into other dimensions that are not conceivable to the heroes. By the way, if it crossed your mind at any point that one side of this book is going to be higher than the other at any point in time, well, you're right. However, you can just take the bottom page or pages from one side and flip them over to the other to equal them out if that's something that bothers you. And I would recommend doing that if you're using pages from different numbers across the books together. We have a nice scene here with a street, a bit of a parking lot. We've got some baked in cars, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm not going to complain about cars because they could just as easily be abandoned. They've been there for months and they're getting ready to get towed, or they could be active employees working wherever they are working. I say employees, they could be patrons also. We have our next place of work, series of interconnected rooms that this time are different across steps of stairs, Ash, sets of stairs. There we go. Sort of half lights going up and down. What is this? Is this like it's like a DJ turntable set? Is that what we got going on here? It's like kind of a party, but a secret party. And then you got to get back to work. All right, we're going to change pages again. And now we've got our road. I would say this is one of those exceptions where since you have a road clearly going off the edges of the board, you wouldn't be able to take another map and then place it, at the end, terminating that road, because it wouldn't look very realistic. It would not look like it was supposed to be cut off at that point. But you've got your basically equivalent of ruins here with your ruined bathtub and sink and toilet. Nice addition. Graffiti everywhere. I don't know who all is graffitiing on the ground like that instead of the walls. But, I'm not going to hate on it. I think it's perfectly plausible that you've got people that tag the ground and run away. Machinery that has fallen into this excavated pit, or perhaps there was a sink at some time and it's just been cleaned up. Multiples of those have happened in this world, it seems. This place is long abandoned. You have more ruins, which go really well with this map, which is also a road. Now I'm kind of led to wonder if the road pages from one book were swapped. They're certainly numbered consistently, but I wonder if the road was supposed to be on the last two pages to go with the other road. If you did do that, then you could definitely put these in any way together. I mean, not like this, obviously, but you could definitely have them where one leads into the other. Again, making use of those car tiles. And if you just wanted to have the two roads running like this, then you could definitely have like a two highways going opposite directions situation. All right, so we've got to turn that page once, but then we have to turn this page twice to get to the next set of maps. This is, it's clearly a place where there's some entertainment, but in the world of cyberpunk genre, all these places tend to go together and blur together quite a bit. So this could just as easily be a hospital. It could be a club. It could be a robotics research lab. It could be a bioengineering facility. It could be a place where they illegally transplant cybernetic onto your characters. It would all be valid. It kind of looks like the two maps on the lower book fit better with the two maps on the above book here. Oh, that's because I'm on the right pages now. 21 and 22. 21 and 22. This is how this is supposed to look. So where was I at before? Those pages must have stuck together, which lent itself to the ambiguity that I was expressing. So that was actually my mistake. Here, you have more of an entertainment vibe and more of a club vibe. I don't know what's supposed to go on here. This might be a meeting for very sketchy higher-ups, although it looks like there are, I don't know, I guess those are cans? Those are bottles. Those are the tops of bottles. People are gathering here and they're talking. What are they talking about? What is this? Is this a bar? I guess it could be a bar. Somebody in the comments saying, yes, Ash, that's a bar. Good job. Our next reveal. Yes, this was the factory floor vibes place that I looked at before, but I only looked at half of it correctly. Now we will turn the page, being careful to note the page numbers in the bottom corners. We're 23 and 24. This is a private area. This is area 07, 06, 05, danger 03. The supervisor's office is right here. Kind of like that labeling on the ground there. I like the presence of all the racks everywhere. Again, multiple uses. Could be an all-out war. Could be a few isolated skirmishes. You could be chasing a character down. 25 and 26 have these sort of back alley or suburban walkways, sort of an apartment complex, which I suppose could be guarded, evidenced by the barriers all around, and the doorways that could very well be guarded by bots or workers outside or keycard access. Lots and lots of living quarters here, but they are small, so perhaps they are for lower income or perhaps workers who are just, stationed temporarily. More of a dungeon crawl scenario with this one. Not a lot going on. Lots and lots of potential, though. We'll move on to, I almost stuck, pages 29 and 30. Larger open areas for presentation, for crowds to gather. And I'm pretty sure pages 31 and 32, we're going to have ourselves our Mad Max again style. I know I use that reference a bit, but that's what this is to me. If it's desert and sand and dirt and rock and orange and road and wreckage, that's Mad Max to a T every time. I don't know what we have going on down here. It can be whatever you want, though. This is your narrative. We have lots of rebar. Never know when you're going to need some rebar. We go on to the next set of pages. 33, 34. This is going to be more of a battle situation, although we do have a bonfire here and a chair. Maybe some tents for some temporary workers. Again, some ruins. These tents could also be empty. We've got a solar panel set up here. Overall, really thematic, really cool. Turning the pages. This is immediately compatible, but we have another road situation. 35 and 36, and then we're going to go on to 37 and 38. We're nearing the end of this adventure. This is all shipyard containers, all types of storage. Who knows what could be inside these hulking containers? The very last 2 pages of both books gives us our promised ship, and there we go, our ship. We've got our innovation branding. We've got shipping containers of all sizes. You could easily have this be 2 passing ships that have stopped. They're gummed up together, and you can jump from one to another, perhaps moving the ships little by little, turn by turn, until they're too far to jump from one to the other, which would end the scenario with a fail condition. But otherwise, yeah, pretty open-ended, and again, still compatible with other maps, because if you decided to do something like this, well, this is just the dock, and there is implied to be a huge wall here with an archway here and an archway here, and water otherwise, open water, and then the ship is coming by very carefully, very guided to get into place so that it can stop for a special guest or crew member or shipment to arrive on board that doesn't have to be loaded by large truck or crane. So that is more or less the Cyberpunk map collection. If you got 2 volume 1s, I'd like to hear from you. But these are just now shipping to their backers, and yeah, really excited to see what I can get up to with these maps. Immediately, I want to take my Mutant Chronicles miniatures and the rule set and create scenarios. I looked at this at first and thought Warhammer 40K, but this is not that futuristic. I guess you could argue that any setting could exist in 40K because it's thousands of planets, and any of them could be at any level of technological advancement, but that's not immersive enough for me. So you could look forward to a future video in which we will find out if these Mutant Chronicles, and I'll play a little bit around with the tiles and see where I like putting tiles on the maps. Maybe we'll even take some of these and open up the books and combine them with the other books in the Loki Battlemat series. Even though they are fantasy, there's nothing wrong with having a huge office tech building with high energy usage next to a lovely, lush green field. I mean, that's exactly how AI data centers are being set up now, which arguably is just going to get us to this reality before we know it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching Brave Adventures. Thank you very much to the team at Loki Battlemats for their extremely thoughtful gift. It's very exciting to receive something like that, and it will definitely find use in some way here. And the components that will not find use will go somewhere where they will find use. In Loki's name. Thank you very much for your kind attention. I will see you in the next exciting adventure. Until then, brave heroes, farewell for now.